Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 719 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Josh Wagner. And if you want to hear about his group, Patient Mastery, and how to become the go-to doctor, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Josh Wagner on. Last time he was with me was in August 23rd of 2020. So we've had a little bit of gap in time between having him back on for a feature episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today is 719th episode. So you can see from 117 to 719, we've both probably evolved quite a bit since then, wouldn't you say?
100%, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a quick opener, tell people why we do what we do. I'll talk about a couple topics we're going to discuss today, and then we'll get going. But first things first is our big why. Why do we do what we do at Chiro Hustle? Well, freedom of speech is so important to me. And as you guys know, that the world has been censored and shadow banned and traffic throttled, and we'd never do that to you. So we believe in producing the message of chiropractic, and we believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. I know those things have been under siege for the past 4 years, and now I believe we're building some clarity within what to do for our families to make them healthy. So if you guys have questions, go and find a chiropractor in your city and get your family under care yesterday. And philosophically speaking, I know I shouldn't have to talk about these things, but they're removing some of these constructs and this language out of the chiropractic colleges, unfortunately. So if you guys have a chiropractic student in your life or a new grad, please share the show with them so they can start understanding what subluxation is and innate intelligence and universal intelligence. So I front end with the introduction saying we believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. We protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what these things are, go to our website, click on the links and learn more about the sacred trust, learn more about subluxation. And we do believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And that's innate intelligence connecting to universal intelligence, and then it creates educated intelligence. And those are really important things to the chiropractic profession. And you growing up down there at DE, you know how important philosophy is for chiropractic.
100%. I was going to DE before being in grad school, going to, this is dating myself, but some of the older chiropractors will recognize the name Self Center. Jim, does that ring a bell at all to you?
Is that New York with Pasquale Sarasoli?
So that, deep into Brooklyn, New York, Thursday nights, Pasquale Sarasoli, now passed at 80s, early 90s years old, would get up and speak for 45 minutes to an hour every Thursday night to chiropractors, past patients, past team members. I was a student at the time. I was a college kid at NYU and had just realized this is something I want to get into, chiropractic. For the little I knew then, and was reaching out to the chiropractors in the area, doing some internships, getting mentors. And 2 of them at the same time, 2 of them who were DE chiros, said, hey, if you really are serious about this thing, go check out Pasquale in Brooklyn. And I could have been doing anything Thursday nights and learning from just his energy. A lot of what he would speak about is over the head. He'd speak on philosophy, religion, personal growth, chiropractic. But I share this all the time inside Patient Mastery. If I could boil down what Pasquale taught in 3 words, it's tone over bone. Tone over bone. And what that means, tone over bone, tone is your being, your intention, why you do what you do, your purpose, your passion. The bone is your action. It's the strategy you decide to do, what technique you choose, the words you say. And tone over bone is always the focus. And so everything we teach with communication, it's where are you coming from and why, rather than, oh, just read the script and be a cookie cutter model of someone else, or even why you charge what you charge, or how you adjust. Like when a chiropractor goes into that room, or let's get it more specific to the adjustment itself, just like BJ said, are you giving that extra little something or certain something? Your tone as the chiropractor, what you're thinking, feeling, and being at the moment of that adjustment is far more indicative of the results that person's going to get than what listing your analysis said to adjust or what technique you resonate with. And as chiropractors, we're managing a business, we're managing team, we've got 1,000 spinning plates. It's so easy to lose our tone. And it could be in multiple different areas. It could be chasing shiny objects. It could be personal stuff at home, rather than getting back to the tone of, I'm here to help facilitate healing. I'm here to serve. I'm here to be a trusted professional leader to help people get from where they are, most likely in pain or suffering health-wise, to where they want to be, which is healthy, energy, back to their life, doing what they love, and just constantly coming back to the tone. And everyone has different ways of getting there. We have our ways that we teach. And then the bone, the strategies, we'll teach you words. We'll teach you how to do care plans. If you want to get paid cash rather than, be insurance dependent, we'll teach you all that, but it always comes back to the tone.
Well, the topic that I was talking to you before we went live was, I said, nothing happens until something moves. And that's an Einstein quote. And I think Pasquale had a lot of semblance of an Einstein.
He looked very similar. Yeah. Yeah. The crazy white
shock of white hair.
Yeah. And Pasquale is funny. He had these thick glasses, so his eyes looked really big. He'd wear oftentimes this white collared button down shirts with a patch of a bald eagle on each breastplate. Just such a beautiful human being, chiropractor, advocate. One of his mentees, who was a mentor of mine, described it as, if you cut open Pasquale's arm, it would say chiropractic on his bone. He described it. But yeah, that's what I like sharing with docs, is the tone over bone principle of 5 docs, and docs can relate to this. 5 docs can go give the same talk, can go do the same screening, can go do the same ads. That's the bone. And where 5 docs can have the same exact new patient come in, and they'll all get different results, whether it's, does the patient stay and follow recommendations? Does the patient get better and heal? The screening, the talk, how many new patients do they get? So the bone could be the same. The results are going to be different. And it always comes back to the tone. And there's different tones we teach about, like certainty. Obviously, people want to follow certainty. And in the chiropractic world, it's not just certainty in your technique. That's super important. But if you're not certain in clinical recommendations or certain in your value and whatever you're charging for care, you could be the best clinical practitioner and you're going to struggle to pay the bills. And that happens far too often. And unfortunately, in this profession, where chiropractors over-index technique and forget about all the other hats you have to wear as a business owner and get amazing results, but can't pay the bills. I hear it every week.
Well, I've studied with some of the greatest marketers in the world. And one of the guys that I loathe and I love is Grant Cardone. But Grant would always say, best known beats best every day. And yeah. I really believe that. Like, if you're well known and you do a good job of, creating the entourage effect from your marketing, your outreach, and your strategic plans on how you're going to grow your practice, that you can have the best hands in the world. If nobody knows who you are, you're not going to have a successful career. And I think that what you're saying is, you can go in different channels of how you are communicating with people. But if you don't have your certainty in place, you're never going to get out of the obscurity of, I'm the best adjuster in the world. Why aren't people coming to see me?
Totally. And this is like the first level problem I see with chiropractors, meaning, all right, what we notice over the 10 years of coaching chiropractors is there are certain levels that chiropractors get stuck at. So for instance, there's a certain percentage of chiropractors that can't break through 20,000 a month total revenue collections. There's the next stuck point is 40,000 a month. The next stuck point is 60,000 a month. And the next stuck point is that 84,000 a month, which would be the $1 million practice. And each level, there's different strategies, things you need to start doing and stop doing to get to that next level. It's not just do more of the same thing longer and harder, and then you just grow. No, the easiest way to think about this is what got you to where you are is not the same things that's going to get you to where you want to go. A lot of people don't realize that. They know the whole Einstein quote of keep doing the same thing over and over, get the same results, insanity definition. People agree with that and understand that. But the first level, oftentimes below that 20,000 a month mark, is when the chiropractor doesn't realize they have to learn other hats and skills than just clinically. And I'm never going to knock clinical efficacy and the adjustment. Like, it's both the most important thing and the least important thing. It's the most important thing because that's what you're put on this earth to do. And that's what you're promising patients, to give an incredible service and adjustment and facilitating healing happening inside them. That's why it's the most important thing. But it's the least important thing because the patient doesn't care what technique you're using. The patient doesn't care any of that. They just want to get better. And chiropractors just go oftentimes to the lower level. Chiropractor goes to seminar after seminar after seminar to get 0.2% better in their technique, and they can't pay the bills. Now the next level is the chiropractor who maybe sees a lot of people, generates a lot of revenue, but doesn't make profit. Different issue, different problem. I'll tell you, literally last week, 2 docs started patient mastery coaching, and we do a whole profile on them. They're pretty similar. One of them was averaging 56,000 a month collections. The other was averaging 65,000 a month collections. Now in the chiropractic world, they're both in the upper echelon. Like a lot of chiropractors don't break past the 40,000 a month mark. And they were both single DC practices. The doc who's making 65,000 a month indicated that his profits the month before were less than 2,000. That's not a good business model. That's not good for being able to retire one day, giving your family the life they want and they deserve for how many people you're helping. But I want to talk about the other one, the doc who was averaging 56,000. We asked 3 questions. How many new patients you get in a month, volume, profits. He got the month before 56 new patients. Pretty much in any docs in the world, like that's a good month of new patients. And this is a solo doc practice. So good new patients. Volume, the month before he saw over 1,000 visits. So we're talking about like 500 a week. Like that's a busy volume practice. 56,000 in collections. Profit, question mark. Don't know, didn't assess. So the first thing is not even taking the most important stat in an entire business. And this is where a lot of the chiropractic profession goes wrong. We chase stats that aren't indicative always of success. So first off, doesn't know the profits. Already alludes they're probably not that good. But then in another question, he writes, one of the reasons he's looking for coaching is because at the end of the month, practice and life-wise, he can't pay all the bills. So clearly the profits aren't that good. And I share this from the standpoint of how chiropractic has gone so wrong of you can have stats that look so good, 56 new patients. Now, of course, that's the top layer of the onion. What if 55 of them didn't get more than one adjustment and you dropped the ball and they didn't get well? But let's just say they're getting his care. He saw 500 patients visits a week. But whatever his model is, he's making it so he can't retire. He can't give his family like the ability to pay the bills rather than generous gifting, great vacations, saving for the future that makes him know his retirement lifestyle is going to be great. And I'll share some strategies on this call today that will help show chiropractors how to look at the business side better, so you can still do amazing clinical work, but make sure you're taking home profit, which just fuels your future and your life.
I think there's just a lot of stuff that you shared there that it really is a foundational idea. On, in sports, I like sports analogies. They call that person a paper tagger. Like, they look really good on paper, but that's about as good as it goes. Is they're not strong as when it comes to actually like fighting. Like a real tagger versus a paper tagger. Like the paper tagger is like, it's a really nice sketch and it looks beautiful, but it isn't going to go out there and hunt for itself.
I think of it growing up in New York. I think of there's certain athletes who are awesome, but they're never going to win a championship, and they have great stats. Like growing up in New York, Carmelo Anthony averaged 30 points a game, but like I don't think they ever won a playoff game. Like he would never lead a team to a championship as their number one player, and then he turned into a six-man later in his career.
And guys that are really good at getting an average, I like baseball. Like guys that get good averages in baseball, they only have to hit the ball 3 out of every 10 times and they can go to the Hall of Fame. If they can do that for a decade, they're one of the best players in baseball. So I think like when we talk about these guys that have big practices that don't know their numbers and their real valuation of who they are as a chiropractor, that's a big problem.
Yeah. And I mean, for the docs, like when you're taking care of that many people, bending over an adjusting table, and by the way, 500 is high volume. Most chiropractors don't need, you can see 100 people a week and have $1 million practice. I'm not saying you should or you need to, but you don't have to see hundreds and hundreds to make the money you want to make. But what I'm getting at is no matter what your volume is, you might be seeing 30 patients a week. No matter what, if at the end of the month, you're stressed because of bills, you have outstanding debts, which most chiropractors do, whether it's student loan, maybe business debt to get you started, or maybe just credit card debt. If you're not knocking that out, then you're clearly not saving for the future. That's not only is it a scary place to be, but it's just a demoralizing, like you're giving your blood, sweat, and tears, heart to help people get well, and you're not in a sound financial space. This isn't about buying the $100,000 car or anything like this. This is just about having a lifestyle for your family and then security for your future. So that's something I'm passionate about with chiropractors, is not just helping more people, 100%, not just loving going into practice, which when you're not making money, practice becomes a job. Like here's another example, seeing new patient appointments on the books and your energy goes down because maybe what you've taught has been, I've got to sell this person, or I've got to convince this person, or I've got to, within a 1 day, 2 day, or 3 day process, transfer everything in my mind in chiropractic into that person and have them become a chiro advocate within 72 hours. That's heavy. Rather than you see a new patient on the books and your energy goes up because this is someone you could help. This is someone this is serving your purpose and growing your business. But that's a big thing I see with chiropractors. And it's one of the new patient sabotages, attraction sabotages, is if you see a new patient on the books and your energy drops, that's not a good sign. Something's off with your new patient process.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle. Well, I think what you're really touching on is there's the law of equal exchange. And that when you're serving so much and you're not collecting and have a quality of life with it, it's unsustainable. And when you see somebody like this, you gave example A, example B. How do you course correct them? How do you get them to the point where they can become more sustainable and actually create wealth and have the opportunity, if they ever want to exit their practice, that they can?
Perfect. So two things I'll teach you on this call, and I'm going to pull out a whiteboard and do some visuals because it'll help explain the process.
Sure.
Before I get into that two things. Like you mentioned, the law of equal exchange. So you may have, and I'm not, when I say they're not making any money, I'm not saying they're charging $2 a visit and they're undervaluing their care, or they don't know that may be the case, that may not be. What I'm getting at is, even if the exchange feels equal, how they run their business, their overhead may be so unnecessarily high that even though the fee for the adjustment is quality, aligned, congruent, shows value to the patient, but how they run their business on the back end, all of that's getting eaten up with stuff that isn't moving the business forward and isn't putting it in the chiropractor's pocket. So the very first thing, like the example I gave over here, the doc didn't even know what his profits were. So the very first thing is, do you know what to measure? So a lot of docs, they're measuring volume, they're measuring PVA, patient visit average, they're measuring price per visit average. They're measuring all these things where it's like, you know what? If you're not making profit, none of those things really matter. So the very first thing is, and any doctor listening, at the end of each day of practice, you should be getting two numbers, either from your CA or your EHR, but most likely it's from your CA. And that is the amount that came in that day, cumulative. So there's going to be a batch of credit cards, one number, like maybe there were 15 credit card swipes, but there's one number at the bottom, the batch. Maybe there's checks, CA adds up all the checks. Maybe there's some insurance electronic deposits or checks, CA adds up all the insurance. Maybe there was cash that went over the counter. So there's pretty much 4 ways that chiropractors get paid: cash, insurance, credit cards, check. And that CA is going to give you a breakdown of each, but really the cumulative, this is how much came in today. You're going to get that every single day. The next number, and this is really easy for a CA to do, is as the days go by, she or he is adding each of the other days to it. So you're going to get a cumulative for the month, meaning on day 7, you have, okay, what have we made total so far in the first week of the month? And what did I make today? Now, we're just talking revenue here right now, but most likely you have a revenue goal. You have a collections goal for the month. It doesn't matter if it's 30,000, 60, or 90. So we call this keeping your finger on the pulse in your practice financially and cash flow. When you're the 7th of the month, you know you're about 25% of the way through the month. When you're around the 15th, you're 50%. When you're around the 10th, you're 33%. You could tell how you're tracking. And by having your finger on the pulse, you either know, hey, am I tracking in alignment with my goals or my average, or am I lagging behind? And when you're lagging behind, it kicks you in the gear. Okay, is there more team training? Is there different marketing? Is there past collections that need to be followed up on? Is my conversion process not good? Are my fees out of alignment? You inherently start thinking and asking better questions than when you don't know what the score is, or you don't know what the money number is. So that's super easy. 2 numbers at the end of every day. Your CA gets to you, just a staple. And what you are aware of, the numbers, you have more ability to shift in your favor just by being aware of them. Now, the next, let's take it a step further, is most chiropractors don't know what their average monthly overhead is. And I'm not including what you may pay yourself W-2. So is it hard to figure out your overhead? Not at all. What are your business credit cards at the end of the month on average? Add those up. What is anything leaving your checking account, electronic or checks? Add those up. You've got rent that's probably through the checking account, not a credit card. Maybe certain utilities. Credit card, you've got services you're doing, supplies you're buying. You can easily find that number in a few minutes if you don't already know it. And payroll. So what is your average monthly overhead? Write that down. Then, I'll show you this. In Patient Mastery, we play a game every month called Outrunning Overhead. And here's what it looks like. You got this triangle. So if you're just listening on audio, the top of the triangle is the 15th, bottom left is the 1st, bottom right is the 30th. This is days of the month. We call this Outrunning Overhead. And it's a game you play with yourself to increase your profits, because what you're focused on grows. Now, depending on your practice size and revenue level, the amount of percentage you spend on overhead changes. The smaller the practice, smaller the percentage of overhead, the bigger the practice, bigger percentage of overhead. But let's say for an average chiropractic practice, it should be around 50%. Sorry, when I say average chiropractic practice, I'm saying you're doing 30s to 60,000 a month in monthly revenue. So 50%. However, most practices, or like the two I referenced earlier that need help, and they're going to get it, their overhead is pretty much here, and they only have at the very end. So all of this, think of this as revenue, is going to their overhead. All the money they make is going there. When you have little profits, all the money you make is going to your overhead. And only this last maybe 1 or 2 days of the month is actually theirs. And then guess what? Then they get to pay taxes out of that and their personal living expenses. What we focus on is moving the needle. So wherever yours is, we're getting it back to where it should be. A lot of chiropractors around this 50,000 or 50% mark. And so the focus is the first half of the month, everything that's coming in. Now, this is just conceptually you're thinking about it. So let's say you have a 50,000 a month practice, 25,000 a month overhead. Every single day you're getting how much is coming in and the total. The goal is by the 15th of the month, you've collected 25,000. So the rest of the month, everything is profit. That's a game to play. Outrunning overhead is based on your margin. Can you cover your overhead in collections by 50% through the month by the 15th? And just by knowing this and playing that, it sharpens your skill, bring it closer for me to do it better, to play the game of business and practice better. Jim, any questions so far?
I think it's just really important for people to see strategically how that they can create systems and gamify it. Once again, back to old Grant Cardone, he would always tell me people do more for a game than they will for work. So if you can teach people how to create a game within their work, that's going to change a lot of people's perspectives on going after their goals and targets.
100%. The next strategy I'll teach. Super simple, makes a world of difference for your retirement and your financial security. And this comes, we've been teaching this forever, but I literally got a message sometime last year from one of my clients who said, "Hey, Josh, you just made me an extra 500,000. And I'm like, explain, because that's a pretty bold statement.
Big number.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he goes, "Hey, from the way you taught how to save," let me say, the 500,000 came from his financial advisor who, financially, he puts a certain percentage of money towards investments every month. The financial advisor invests it, and the financial advisor also does projections for him saying that this stock has at least 15 more years of practice left before retiring. But the financial advisor pretty much shows projections of what are you most likely going to retire with, and will that fuel the rest of your life? And when his name is Dr. Joe Adams, he's a Texas Chiro Association board member and just a phenomenal doc. And when he made this change that I'm about to share with you, it changed the projections, and the financial advisor saw on the screen like, whoa, what he's going to retire with when he stops practicing, now just got bumped up $500,000 more without changing what investments. He didn't find the silver bullet magic investment, and he's not adding more money monthly. Seems a little too good to be true. I'll show you what that looks like. So most people know the 10% rule, or business owners. And this is a staple, just smart money wealth creation strategy. The 10% rule is take 10% of everything you make each month and don't touch it, don't use it, put it towards long-term investment. It's not for the next cruise, it's not for the next vacation, long-term. But that 10%, there's a difference between, is it profit? Is it 10% of collections? Sorry. Your profit is oftentimes going to be half of your total collections. So if you're doing 10% of your profit, you're only putting half as much towards retirement as collections. We teach do collections because you're going to be saving a lot more. It forces you to be smarter with the 90% now that you have to handle everything else, and you will. But this isn't the secret yet. This is just stepping stone. 10% rule. Everything, all the collections you make, you're putting towards, it could be an actual retirement account, it could be a non-retirement account, but you're focused on long-term savings. And most people do this at the end of the month. When you switch to doing 10% of collections weekly, which is, besides from it takes a few more minutes a month because you have to do, let's say, 4 transactions rather than 1, but it's actually easier because as the weeks go by, it's a smaller number each week than a total monthly. And sometimes at the end of the month, we find, ooh, it's hard to find that 10%. I've got to pay these bills first. But when you switch to every week, and by the way, when I say 10% weekly, I don't mean 40% total. I mean 10% of the last week. So it's still 10% total over the month. Think of it as like 2.5% every week averaged out. But when you do this weekly, the percentage of increase of actual dollars at the end of decades, this is what had the financial advisor tell Joe Adams. He just added $500,000 to his retirement. He went from 10% monthly to 10% of the week prior. The same amount total monthly to retirement. All he did was speed up one amount by 3 weeks, another amount by 2 weeks, another amount by a week, rather than doing it at the end. And when you realize the power of interest, and over decades, all of those weeks adding up of getting to grow literally came out to this. I do it every Monday. I did it yesterday. Some of you like it automated, like you could just set up a rule in your bank, in your business revenue account, 10% of everything that came in over the last 7 days, throw it to my Vanguard retirement account. I like to go in and just 7 days, there's not going to be that many batches in the credit card system. I just look, I add it up, and I send the 10%. Anyone can make this change, and it's going to force you to save more. It forces that savings to grow more, and it forces you to be smarter with the remaining 90%. One of the easiest and simplest things you could do to generate more future wealth. Jim, any questions on this?
I think it's just really fun to see how you put strategy around the money game, and you can teach people real life, like they don't have to be your client. They can watch this podcast and they can start doing this strategy and then go get into their bank account, their business account right now. And they can set it up to automate pulling this percentage out of their account and putting it somewhere else. And then that's the thing, is it's the little money game that gives people the clarity for security. And I think that a lot of people, for me, I don't have questions because I see the application, but I'm sure that some people are going to say, hey, Josh, this stuff's really cool. I want to be a part of your patient mastery group. I want to learn how to do not only this, but the 50 other things that you teach. Like, I'm sure that this is just like one of like the simple, easy things for you to give away to people as like an approach to seeing what else is behind the curtain.
100%. Not only the 50, the 719 other things we teach, like your, I think, 719 podcast. We tell docs, if you're stuck under the $1 million practice, which is the majority of the profession, what we teach you will have you double your profits, like change your financial life. If you're over $1 million, honestly, we'll probably do it even quicker because you've got such a good head on your shoulders. But the majority of the profession, you're stuck under $1 million. If you're not making the money you want to make, if you're not feeling the way you want to feel weekly, because this isn't about making money, but hating practice or doing things you don't believe in, adding services, whatever, we will absolutely help you. Go to patientmastery.com, a ton more resources, or the ability to get an individualized strategy session with one of my coaches to show you this is exactly what you need to do to shift, what to start adding, what to remove strategy-wise to double your profits. We give that to any chiropractor who owns their practice and is looking to grow.
And just to let everybody know, I've read Josh's book. It's a phenomenal book. Everybody should read it. And I really appreciate you doing what you do. And I think there's a lot of people out there that need some connection and leadership and good communication to help solve some of their problems. They just don't know that they're problems. So I'd like to urge anybody out there that's considering reaching out to Josh to do it, and at least do the strategy session to see what's going on. Let him look under the hood, see what he can do to make things better and make you more money to where you can make more of an impact. You don't have the same stress that the rest of the world has when it comes to the financial game. I think the financial game is one of the things that most people never get taught, and they never learn it. And before you know it, a rotator cuff goes, or some type of hernia hits you, or low back, or a knee, or a shoulder, or an ankle. And the next thing you know, we can't practice the way that we used to. So it is important to build those securities and those financial strategies around you. And even if this is the only thing you ever learn from Josh, go implement it today. And I think that's a big takeaway.
Thank you, Jim. And you had mentioned it earlier about like selling a practice in the future. Most chiropractors don't realize you might actually profit 1 to 2 years of living expenses from the sale of your practice. That's not the wealth strategy. This is the wealth strategy, and increasing how much you're making and profiting every month. So 10% gets more and more. Selling your practice in the chiropractic world is not a retirement strategy. It'll give you 1 to 2 years.
Well, Josh, thanks for sharing with us today. This was a phenomenal conversation about all things chiropractic business. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will benefit from our time together today. Your episode 719 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We've been at this thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, for quite some time. And I look forward to the future with both of us together and supporting you long term. And I look forward to seeing all the prosperous clients that you have coming through your ranks, and maybe they'll want to do podcasts with me too.
Awesome. We'll let it unfold. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah. And I close out the same way I always do. And I tell everybody, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.